let's move on to match number 2 of the day. tom60229 versus DawN. And Tom, one of the most impressive players so far this season. Not only I like his lineups and I like his approach to banning and shielding as well, but when we've harped on about just basics of Hearthstone and not really messing up.
Yeah.
I think Tom has consistently just been like, yeah, just played great this series.
Right.
Yep, played great this series. Yep, played great this series. And that has just been ongoing as far as I'm concerned.
And of course, we can't get into his headset. We can only go off of, or his head.
His headset.
Yeah.
Just climb in.
Wow.
Tom puts his
into his
headset on,
microphones.
like,
Yeah. Doesn't
hey,
even
Tom.
wear one. Yeah. We can't get into his mindset. I joined headset and mindset there for a second. We joke about how chill, how cool he seems to be in every game. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's absolutely tweaking out every single game. But it seems to be that his greatest asset is that fact he's so cool, calm, and collected in every game. A lot of other players freaking out. You know, they got relegation on their mind, really not wanting to make a fool of themselves in front of so many people in a live audience. Tom's been there. He's done that. He is just absolutely in his element playing on a stage.
And you know what I think might actually help in maybe a weird way is that Tom, as we've seen from previous performances, has his own ideas about how to play.
Yeah.
And what he thinks is good, what he thinks is bad. And I guess if you have more of your own opinion about what's good and you don't really care that much if other people say it's not right, then you just play how you want to play. Whereas I'm convinced, because even the times back in the day when I competed, when you make a play, there's always the level of, is this a good play? And then there's, am I sure it's a good play, or would Sottle say it's not? Does everyone else, what about the pros? Would they say it's completely wrong? Am I going to look stupid for making this play that I think's right, but could be wrong? And suddenly you start cycling through that and you make a bad play.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just like, no, this is right, I don't really care what anyone else says, then it's solid, right? Whether the play is good or not, it's decisive.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel, even though it's just me playing ladder games, very often, Casey will come and spectate my games, or Hunter Ace will come and spectate 1 or 2 games. And as soon as they start watching me, the pressure sets in. I'm like, Am I terrible at this game? Have I been wasting my life? I'm a complete joke. These players are looking at me play my games.
You play Quest turn 1 on Druid and you start to think,
trash.
Was it right? It's like you're waiting for the message to come up from the player. And you're like,
Cleric on 1. Giga trash.
Yeah, get out of the game, scrub. But anyway, we did just glance at the lists and the lineups, but Tom has his Druid shielded and protected, so he will be able to play that. Yeah. And his Priest, his combo Priest, has been banned out by DawN. And DawN, on the other hand, has shielded his Warrior, which is more of the standard control warrior we've seen over the past few weeks, and has his... wait, no, I've just messed it up. Did he shield his Priest?
He shielded his Priest and had his Warrior banned.
Yeah, I shielded his Warrior and his Priest, which would be OP. I shield...
Quad shields!
It's like dual-wield shields. But anyway...
That's like what a boss would be able to do in a card anime or something. I shield all 4.
Like, no, this has got to be against the rules. There are no rules in my realm. Yeah, we're writing it right now. Okay, anyway, game number 1 of this series. tom60229 on the top at impressive 5-2 score on the Warrior. And DawN on the bottom with 4-3 hot on the heels of Tom on this Paladin.
That's right, even with Alutimu at the start of the week at 3-3, took the first win like Alutimu, but maybe he can turn things around and get a win here and end up at the same score as Tom, who obviously having a uncontested first 2 weeks, going up to 4-0. Now things are starting to slip for Tom.
And you see how close with, the difference a week can make. Any player that takes a double loss in a week changes the division bracket up a lot, because Tom was way ahead, and now suddenly if DawN wins, like you said, well, they're even. If Alutimu won, they would be even, and so on and so on. So very, very close every single match. But in this one, are we going to see a lot? Probably not, I guess, with this hand. Going to see a lightning round of Paladin that we saw yesterday with Tyler, because that was absurd. That was one of the fastest and most decisive wins with Paladin I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, one of the coolest Paladin wins I've seen in a while as well, with the double Chevalet draw and then to kill off the twins as well. It was a very cool game.
It was also like a boss fight. It was just like, they start with the top 15 cards of the deck. Zephyr's active from turn 1. It's like a weird boss fight that they just break the rules.
DawN here with his OTK Paladin, it's worth talking about. It feels like his entire lineup is much more in lining with the Americas school of thought. A lot of the players seem to be more in line with the European GM style of thought, and then we have kind of our own meta here in Asia Pacific with a lot of Highlander Hunter, a lot of Zoo, much more aggressive. But DawN here, I believe they were saying that Priest is the #1 most represented Americas deck, and Paladin's the 2nd most represented class in Americas, with Highlander Hunter making up the vast majority of that. I think there's one mech Paladin as well. But the OTK Paladin here, I think it's in a decent spot for DawN. It's kind of an all-or-nothing deck for some parts because you can hit some matchups that feel nigh on unwinnable.
I feel like it's a good deck for this format because it's just like a bread and butter deck, isn't it? You know what to do.
Yeah.
You know how to play it. There's no real... Yes, it can be played well and it can be played bad, but overall your strategy is the same. Yeah. So you know how to play. It's a deck that's, although the specific 30 cards have changed, the archetype has actually been around for a while now. So players are practiced in it. It's like we saw Tyler yesterday in his interview. I said, why bring this Paladin instead of something else? He went, I played Zoo, but to be honest, I just like Paladin. I think it's good.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not arguing with that. Makes sense.
I think that's very reasonable. Comfortability with the deck is still an underrated asset of Hearthstone play, I think.
100%.
If you're just copying, you know, with certain players who they've said, you know, they just copied Hunter Ace's lineup from last week. Sure, that'll work if you're able to play the decks well, if you practice them especially, but if you don't feel good at them, you will not perform as well as Hunter Ace.
Honestly, again, harking back to when I used to compete, every time I used to just bring a lineup that was like given to me, so to speak. It's like, oh, these are just good decks.
Yeah.
If there was any decks I just didn't like in the lineup, I wouldn't do well. I wouldn't do well. It was honestly, and then I just stopped and was like, I'm going to play stupid versions of Hunter and win.
I just kind of skipped over that entire portion. I saw the future and saw, you know what, competing, not for me.
But you do try hard on ladder.
I am the sweatiest tryhard on ladder. But the worst thing is, it's an eternal torture, is I try really hard, but I also suck. It's the problem, so I can never get to good ranks. But I still will just jam the same one deck over and over, God help me.
So far, DawN, as the Paladin often does, has 1 million cards in hand. And he has to, honestly, half of this Paladin skill set is learning the best way to just get rid of cards. Yeah. Because you can mess up very easily the second you just let your concentration slip and don't realize how many cards you've got, don't realize how many cards you're going to end the turn with. Like now, this has happened a lot of the time where you'd actually be on 9 cards, you played the Thanos, you blanked, think you're safe, they trade, then you go, oh, overdraw, whoops. And then it's, you know, it's a problem.
I always think in situations like this, how much mana would you pay for a card with like various decks, whatever, it's an open-ended question. How much mana would you pay for a card that says you have no hand limit? Like, how much would that have to cost to not be busted? Because I feel like, you know, obviously if at the start of the game the Paladin had no hand limit, it would be the best deck in the game by a million miles. Yes. It wouldn't even really be close. Like having 10 cards is the only thing holding it back.
Because you could run even more card draw, right?
Exactly.
You could actually run more card draw.
You'd get the combo by turn 10 every single time.
How much would that card cost?
It would have to cost like 8 or something, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, I think it would have to be something silly.
Yeah.
Except for those dank plot twist decks. Plot twist Alec. Give purple a call. Whereas now, as we're just chatting, Tom just putting forward a few threats, and it sounds a little bit weird to call them his threats when they're so often used as removal tools. But Tom wants to make DawN have more to think about than just how to draw his cards.
That's true.
Which is a reasonable thing, as well as Tom obviously prepping to gain a lot of armor.
But I think if his objective was to fluster DawN, he absolutely has not done that. DawN, on the turn he equipped the True Silver, swings face with it. Love that. I think that's absolutely what you're trying to do in the matchup. You know, very often you can tunnel vision with this Paladin deck, I know I do at least, to you remove minions. That's what you do, because that's all you have to do, and then you win the game. Against Warrior, absolutely not the case. You have the very easy ability to deal 50 damage, but very often you will have to deal even more than that if you want to get over the finish line.
And funnily enough in this matchup, what's your opinion of Dr. Boom? Because, yes, it gains you Blast Shield, which is a huge armor buff, but it removes the consistency of the hero power. So, do you think we're going to see a Snap Boom potentially early on? Or do you think we're going to see him hold off and say, well, actually, maybe 2 mana a turn is more likely to gain me more armor than a Dr. Boom.
Maybe.
At least early on. I mean, obviously he'll play Boom at some point because it gains him 7 armor on the same turn.
Right.
But is it going to be soon or is it going to be late?
I mean, I think you generally just throw it down quite early because you have to remember, it's not like you are guaranteed 2 armor every turn. You have to spend the mana to get that. And you really want to be tempoing out quite heavily in this matchup to try and pressure them. Because if you can disrupt them to the point where they can't go for the combo, that's the absolute dream. But even if not, I think it's important to be making sure you're never falling behind on board.
Okay.
But it's an interesting point you raised. It's far from, in my opinion, as crucial as it is in other matchups because they don't really have many minions. The rush has limited value.
I definitely feel like the matchup's walking on a tightrope, isn't it? Because if you want to pressure the Paladin, great. But the second you spend mana on pressuring and not armoring up, and then the pressure doesn't work, you die. So I think it's a very difficult matchup for Warrior, even though people are like, oh, you know, Warrior's favored or whatever. That may be the case, but you can be favored in an easy way, and you can be favored in a tough way.
Very true. Our Mega Dealer here looking pretty beastly to buff up the, what's it called, Faceless Lurker, that minion, I think, that doubles its health when you play it as a 5 mana 3/3, which now be a 5 mana 5/10 taunt, which is not too shabby. And a very important shield slam there from Tom as well on the Thekal, which I think is pretty heads up as well, because if he hadn't done that, he would leave himself open to some kind of quality consecration, shrink rate consecration, something like that. And then if the 3 damage connects face, 3 damage is a huge deal in this matchup.
Also, small note as well, this Holy Wrath in hand is just 1 reduced, but 2 in hand. So it means that it's not hit the rough end of the stick when you can Prismatic Lens a Holy Wrath for maybe Shivala, and then you're in trouble versus Warrior specifically.
That's right. With the Shivala already drawn, it's like, you're fine.
You're safe.
And that was the one thing I was considering was maybe incorrect with Tyler's play yesterday, was that he just jammed the Prismatic Lens on 3. I think it was still correct because it's very, very unlikely it goes wrong.
So what about Zephyrus, Swing, Tyrion?
Like the sound of
because
that?
again, Zephyrus is just OP. It shouldn't. The more and more we move on through this metagame, the more I agree with the fact that it should only work if the original deck had one-offs, because this is powerful. Not only can Zephyrus get you the Soulfire or Lightning Bolt turn post Holy Wrath to hit up to 29.
Yeah.
It can do this, which adds an Ashbringer, which can do another 15, which again pressures the Warrior. So heads up play from DawN, definitely knowing the matchup well. And also heads up an OP play from Mr. Zephyrus.
I agree. I'm hot off the presses of losing a bunch of games to Zephyrus this morning. So in this instance, I absolutely agree with you. But overall, I think, Zephyrus in these kind of games just feels unfair for the Warrior to play against.
So good.
I think it just single-handedly makes this matchup favourable.
Which is so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Paladin can only do an X amount of damage. Oh, wait. No, it can't.
We have to bear in mind as well that it's not only armor that becomes relevant for Tom. After the first Holy Wrath comes down, all of a sudden healing becomes relevant, which of course means you have to factor in Ziliax. As soon as he can find that, if he can magnetize that onto, say, an Eternium Rover here, or if he's able to find another Omega Devastator, then that could be the extra little push he needs to get him back above the 25 threshold.
And then, because of that, both players end up playing a weird sort of mini-game where DawN has to remove minions that Tom leaves, mechs, they leave sticking around on the board because of Ziliax. But also DawN doesn't want to have minions on the board because of just a flat insta-Ziliax rush. So there's a weird dance that happens where DawN's trying to remove without using minions left.
Yeah.
So even if there's turns where you could say, for example, Equality Pyro, Flash of Light, DawN probably won't. You'll probably do Pyro Equality Flash of Light, so the Pyro dies.
I love this play from Tom as well, utilizing both his Rovers and an effectively useless Warpath just to gain some extra armor. It's absolutely what he should be going for. Oh, this is interesting. So he's got 2 cards left in the deck. One of them is Holy Wrath. Have to be honest, I'm not sure what the other card is left in his deck at this point. If it's a minion, is there any way he could swap it down to being super cheap?
Is it the second thingy
almost
spell?
out of cards.
Oh, it's subdue.
Subdue.
Okay.
Okay. And so of course he knew he would just draw one card.
Yes, I thought it might have been the Christology.
Right.
So it might have been Christology too. I didn't notice the second one get played, but
Oh yeah,
probably
he
because
plays
it
one
gets
on
snap
one.
played. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking that because if it's a cheap minion there, he could go for the full combo in one turn,
Yeah, the double
which would
rat.
be game over on the spot. There's no way that Tom can beat that at the moment.
And look at the speed in which this Paladin deck draws. Oh,
It's insane.
so sick.
Yeah. Really the only thing that's keeping Paladin in the game at the moment, in my opinion, outside of the Murloc decks, the Murloc Paladin, which I'm personally not much a fan of, it's the ridiculous draw engine that comes with Christology primarily, but also Prismatic Lens and now Salet's Pride that makes it a real force of nature in the metagame. So, if we were to see Shavala plus 5 mana Holy Wrath, Banker, that's 3 mana left over, so he could go Subdue and then swing.
Can he Pyro? No, he can't. Never mind. It's just
There's a lot of fancy stuff that can be done.
Because I was thinking of like Pyro, Equality,
Yeah.
Shavala, Shuffle, Wrath would work if he had it.
Right.
Because Wrath's so cheap at only 2 mana.
Yeah.
But I guess he's just gonna go for it.
Like, if he's got a use for the 5 mana, then going for the cheaper one makes sense.
I'm out of cards. I must move
Which I guess is Subdue plus timeout, or just going for the full combo. Okay. Honestly, didn't consider this one at all.
Just puts more stuff on the board.
Sure.
So it's
Why not?
it's-
Prevents fatigue as well.
I
This
guess
is smart.
Was that like slight ordering? Just because one of the bankers they didn't need to.
I
Slight.
suppose. He got the damage to face though.
Yeah.
I think that's the
and that's the trick, isn't it? And what this does, Tom not only has to heal somehow up to 1 million,
Yep.
but he also has to clear the board, and there's 4 minions on the board, which gets a bit trickier to clear. And I basically think this small, weird sort of play
Yeah.
has made it even more difficult / impossible for Tom to do everything he needs to do in 1 turn, which I like a lot. And it's a small thing. DawN is... There's no punish for doing this.
This was a very
There's no
smart play
punish.
from DawN. Yeah.
It's only better, which is nice heads-up play from DawN. I like it.
Yeah. This was just correct.
And now look, there you go. So Tom's just dead.
Nothing can be done here.
Very straightforward textbook. Game number 1. No timeouts even required, Derek. Nobody's got time for that.
You can save him for after. Have a Kit Kat.
It's going to be the Holy Wrath. That's going to be the game. DawN 1-0 versus tom60229. Tom edging very close to a 0-2 weekend, which is unfun for him, but fantastic news for all the other players in the division, because not only the players below him get to catch him,
Yeah.
Glory gets to go further ahead. You know, if he does well for his weekend as well,
Yeah.
means he gets to take further strides into that first place to get closer to just locking up #1 finish in Division B.
That's true. For Tom, it's just been like a very strong start at 2-2-0 weeks and then 1-1, now potentially 0-2 as well. Like, unless he can start turning things around, he will very quickly be heading to the middle of the pack, which after such a dominant start is not what he wants to... He doesn't just want to throw away that advantage he
Exactly, yeah. And that felt like a tough one for Tom. I don't think there's much Tom could have actually done in
I agree.
that game. The Paladin, when it draws well with the double Christology early on, you just get cooking too fast, and the game was solved there for DawN. Good play by him, though. And we're going to see if DawN can take it over Tom just after this break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Wait. We're still doing another one of these? Even with the plagues out there? All right. Greetings, Junior Explorers. Are you ready for adventure? I sure hope so. I'm Ryan Collins, and I'm here to send you out into the Tombs of Terror. The Tombs of Terror sound completely and utterly horrifying, but you're gonna be totally 100% fine. I'm not going, though. No way. You may have heard about those nasty plagues in Old Doom. What you may not know is that the League of Evil unleashed them to destroy the world, and in the process, let loose some seriously mighty mystical beings. And that's where you come in. Tombs of Terror will follow the format of previous Build As You Go adventures. You'll be fighting a series of random encounters and improving your deck as you go with more cards and fantastical treasures. Not only that, but you'll be accompanying the best of the best. That's right, Rand Bronzebeard, Elise Starseeker, Reno Jackson, and Sir Finley Mergleton, they're back. And these legendary explorers have a few new tricks in their wide-brimmed hats. For this momentous occasion, each of the 4 explorers are dual-class heroes, fully representing the strengths of 2 distinct classes at once. For example, with Reno's recent experience with magical artifacts,
Magic!
he's able to sling spells as a mage and use some of his old tricks as a rogue. You'll be able to build your deck with cards from both classes, creating new and exciting combos as you go. Want to deliver a massive druid swipe into your opponent's face with Prophet Velen in play? How about activating rogue combo cards with mage spells? Deck building rules are out the window. Again, with the League of Explorers by your side, I can 110% guarantee that you will be totally fine. Early reports have informed us there's even a nice tavern out there in Old Doom where you can relax, modify your deck. I'm not sure who would be running a tavern during such chaos.
Nice.
At the start of your adventure, you'll get to make another choice to help shape your deck. You'll still choose a starting deck and hero power, but now you'll also have your own collection of signature treasures for each hero. Signature treasures are special cards suited to each explorer that you'll be able to unlock as you play. As you progress, you'll unlock even more powerful signature treasures, giving you a steady flow of new options. So while Reno Jackson may start off with his trusty hat, he'll eventually end up with the Gatling Wand, a powerful instrument of magical might. You may find that some signature treasures are better suited to your playstyle than others, and that's part of the fun too. With your group of explorers fully equipped and ready for action, Tombs of Terror will bring you through 4 chapters of tomb diving goodness. You'll fight a wide assortment of villains, mummies, a bunch of water-toting murlocs. But you're really here to take down these Plague Lords. Plague Lords are the physical embodiments of each of the plagues. They range from a monster made entirely of murlocs to a living form of rage itself. These are huge enemies to tackle with enormous health pools. As they take damage, the Plague Lord will change phases, switching hero powers and strategies to become even deadlier. You might be worried about your chances, but I assure you, you'll be safe. Not only are you a well-trained explorer with cutting-edge equipment, but Plague Lords actually have persistent health pools. So if you show up, go face for 100 or 200 damage, and then get smashed, don't worry. The next time you fight that Plague Lord, that damage will still apply, allowing you to whittle them down if you need to. Although Plague Lords are the purest embodiment of evil we've ever encountered, we're certain that... Look, I can't do this. These guys are doomed. Get out while you can. It's not gonna work. But no, you'll be fine. Everything's fine here. Once you defeat all 4 chapters, you'll unlock the finale, which is... a delightful mystery. Good luck out there, explorers. And if you manage to get yourself mummified or worse, please don't come back for me.
We're back with Tom versus DawN, and DawN taking a pretty straightforward win there with the Paladin, I think. Kind of just paint by numbers Hearthstone, you could maybe say. But everything's going to be mixed up a little bit more now because Tom is going to be on his warrior again, and DawN is going to be queuing that priest. And we've seen probably priest have the most struggles against warrior, maybe. Yep. I wouldn't say it's kryptonite, but it's one deck, I think, or one opponent deck that can cause it actual trouble, as opposed to most of the decks that play versus priest. Everything has to go right for them to just keep up.
It's like kryptonite in the old movies, where he doesn't actually like lose his power. He just kind of starts falling around
Feels
a little bit.
Sick.
Yeah, exactly.
He calls him for sick for work the next day. That's it.
Sorry, I'll save the world tomorrow. But I agree. I think if your deck is if the warrior is tech towards beating the priest, it's in with a really good shot, as we saw from Patra with the Spellbreaker, the double Plague of Wrath, the Whirlwind in there as well. Tom's deck is a little bit more traditional. I think we can both agree with a lot more 2-obs that have been traditionally seen in Control Warrior. 2 Frightened Flunkies, 2 Omega Devastators, 2 Dynamatics, which I think doesn't necessarily help or hinder the matchup. I think on average it's going to be a slightly worse outcome because he doesn't have those get out of jail free cards in the Spellbreaker and the extra Plague of Wrath. But overall, I think he's still in with a reasonable matchup here.
Yeah, and I've talked a lot about mulligans for priest, And yes, the opening hand looks pretty okay.
It does.
But the mulligan decision of keep cleric tick, yes. But then keep psychopomp, keep Amit. I am a fan. I like this mulligan, whether it ends up being right or wrong. But this feels correct, especially for this matchup. It's like, okay, you play cleric. If it gets cleaned up, fine. Wait a couple of turns. Then you just make an insane board that even warriors should struggle to deal with.
I agree completely. There are some matchups where I really want to hit my 1-drops and arguably 2-drops, like Tolvir as well. Like Zoo, the Mirror, Quest Shaman as well seems to struggle against an early board dominance. But Warrior, like you said, if you can just coin out High Priest Amit, and you know, if you have a taunt in the way, or you can res it with Psychopomp, that can just be game on the spot. Not usually, because they have a lot of answers.
There are some games when you get everything, such as this one. So you wanted 1 and 2 drops, then you wanted Amit and Psychopomp. There you go, Derek. All yours and all DawN's.
DawN can have his cake and also punch Tom in the face.
With it.
Yes.
The cake is actually the shape of a boxing glove.
Life is an hour.
So that's all I've got. My casting just goes straight out the window when this sort of stuff happens.
Yeah. Meager language cannot truly capture the feeling of losing to a priest that has
Aliens
this hand.
literally have to come down and sit on the casting desk and be like, we'll take over, lads. Just to accurately describe.
Right. It's like in Arrival, they have to speak in the 4th dimension to be able to appropriately display what it's like.
Feels like a spoiler. I've not seen that.
Oh, have you not?
No.
Cracker of a film.
Oh, is it?
Really recommend it.
Which one is that?
It's one with Amy Adams, where it's like these like obelisks land, and the entire movie really is about them trying to communicate with the aliens.
Okay.
And then she's like having flashbacks which lead into them. It's very, very good.
Okay. I'll put it on my list.
Yeah. Hot recommendation there for any of you movie fans out there. For any of you Hearthstone fans out there, sorry. You're out of luck.
You're not allowed to be both. No, remember, this is the internet. You cannot like more than one thing at the same time. It's impossible. Well, DawN does like this Amit, by the looks of things. And look at this. It's Amit. If anything sticks, Tom's just dead.
Yep.
There's just 1 million health, which equals 1 million damage. And Tom needs to brawl and win, in my opinion.
Would you believe your eyes if 1 million points of damage hit you in the face in turn 5?
Yes. At this point in my life, at this point in the meta. What a god!
Okay, that's the avenue back into the game.
Previous world champ for nothing, Darren. When the big plays have to be made, Tom's there. Oh, never mind. Look at DawN's face. And even a reaction from Tom, who's normally quite cool.
Yeah, a reaction may be a bit strong there. Yeah. Calm down, Tom, all right? We're all friends here.
Yeah.
Don't gently roll your head back ever so slightly.
Tom has to brawl again and win, even though there's no brawl.
Yeah.
But he's still got to do it.
He's got the Plague of Wrath. He can kill off the Amit, and then obviously, you know, we can see he's dead no matter what. But in that position, you know, maybe he's thinking I can lower the health of all my opponent's minions that are played, so his hand sucks. Hopefully.
Ooh, yeah, Ziliax would have been actually pretty decent, right?
Trade. Yeah. Actually,
Ziliax on top of the
Good point.
the Omega Devastator. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because as well, there's only the one silence in DawN's list, which I think is fairly standard, but it means like there's a 1 in 30 of them just removing the Ziliax effect and, you know, winning the game basically.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
quick nod.
a good effort here by Tom to try and stay in the game, but DawN with a incredibly swift 2-0 victory, easy game with his Paladin, easy game with his Priest here, has just absolutely destroyed Tom.
Yep, it happens, and honestly, let me just put a statement out first.
Please do.
I am not defending Priest with this statement, so I'll put that out there. Congratulations to Tom for winning the match, but I feel like we haven't seen Priest do that level of insanity that often. Actually, we've really not, at least in GM over here.
Asia Pacific.
Anyway, yeah, I don't think we've seen Priest just dominate that hard that consistently, but that was definitely on the powerful end of the spike that Priest can do in terms of just, I play stuff, even if you kill it, doesn't matter because you're dead. Mainly because of the card draw.
Right, and I think that's an important point to bring up, is that as whatever deck is currently being memed on, I think often gets an almost mythical status, even just within a week, of being, you know, unbeatable, way too overpowered, whatever it may be. And the reason for this is often that losing to Priest feels terrible. Like, it feels like a really bad loss. Like there for Tom, he got destroyed. It's still just a loss. You don't get a double loss or something because it felt especially bad.
Yeah, I mean...
And just because Priest appears incredibly dominant when it wins doesn't necessarily make it an especially powerful deck. And I think it's already been mythologized somewhat and promoted to like godhood already of how powerful the deck is, when it's undeniably a strong deck, but it's not breaking the game. This isn't an unfairly powerful deck. Exactly, yeah.
Because on ladder, every single game you play actually isn't versus Priest. So if it was that powerful, then everyone would just play the best deck and you take a mirror match every day. But my point as well is look at, you know, Reno Mage not too long ago, right? When it was like, this deck's insane because Luna's Pocket Galaxy. And it's like, right, but there's a lot of games where they just didn't draw it. Or they drew their minions and then drew Pocket Galaxy, in which it doesn't really do much even for 5 mana. So although the deck is, of course, powerful, it isn't unbeatable, and it doesn't do the wins where you feel the worst at losing to them that often. It just has the ability to consistently win, I think is the actual power of the deck. But anyway, before we just harp on about all that, we've got another match coming right up.